Matthew chapter 8, verses 5 through 13. And it reads, "And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home, sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus saith unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say unto you, that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Jesus said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour." We'd like to speak this morning from the question, who's in charge? Who's in charge? May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. This passage, in the midst of the hustle and bustle of a typical day in the life of our Savior, pictures the meeting of two men of importance. Men who had such stature that other men followed them. First of all, there was Jesus, the itinerant rabbi, who, though unorthodox in his training, he didn't come up through the ranks of the religious aristocracy. And though he did not have the training afforded to those of his day, his method still proved quite effective. And then there was the other man of stature, our importance. He was a military man, the centurion, representing Rome and Caesar in all of his regality. He was the leader of 100 hardened soldiers. The centurion's command, being stationed near Capernaum, far from Rome, increased the likelihood that he had seen his share of military conflict. They didn't fight close to Rome. They fought off away from Rome. The softest soldiers got stationed to Rome. The farther you were stationed away, the more likely you were to do battle. The centurion's success was due to the soldiers under him being able to follow his commands without question. His methods had also proven to be effective. Now, this occasion recorded by Matthew was one in which these two men of importance, usually going about their separate ways, happened to cross paths. You see, the centurion had a problem. Matthew 8:6 said that his servant, in the New Living Translation, was lying paralyzed at home, suffering terribly. Now, we're not told anything else about this person, but we are told enough. Two men of importance came together to talk about a man who was really not of immediate importance. He was not of immediate importance because, first of all, he was a servant. And to top it off, he's sick. And undoubtedly a man of great importance, like the centurion, had many servants. But this one servant was so important to him that he sought out Jesus personally. The centurion, who was over 100 soldiers and probably 3 times that many servants, he didn't send a second servant to Jesus about the first servant. He came himself. He came out of a sense of concern about the physical health of his servant. And the point is this, here it is. Everybody under the sound of my voice, Michael Sullivan, loves somebody. Everybody loves somebody, Sister Piano. Sister Piano loved her son Jared, and Sister James loved her son Trey. Mother McPherson loved Scooter. Everybody loves somebody, and when the one you love need help, you're going to seek that help from somebody you believe can provide it. But that alone, Michael Sullivan, doesn't mean that they will get the best help possible. For example, you might take Jared to the doctor, but then Jared, who's sick, you let him argue with the doctor. Sick people argue with doctors. Families of sick people sue doctors. The ignorant relatives of the sick person curse the doctors out. The only way that the one who is loved, but who's also weak or somehow not as powerful as the others, the only way that the one who is loved can get the help they need is that the right one has to be in charge. The right one got to have the last say. Well, in this case, will it be the doctor? Or will it be the sick person, the patient? Or will it be one of the patient's relatives? If the centurion's servant was going to be healed out of a meeting with these two powerful men, then Jesus needed to be in charge. Not the centurion, nor the centurion's servant. This brings me to my first point, Sister Nancy Jean. Hear it and hear it well. The effectiveness of ministry is determined by who is in charge. People say the gospel don't work. Well, you had the wrong Negroes in charge. Years ago, Dr. Thompson, I was asked to conduct a workshop at a church just right around the corner from here. And I don't do as many workshops as I used to because their effectiveness is determined by who is in charge. And when I go to other churches, I'm not in charge. I'm a visitor. I don't pastor these other churches, and I only have whatever authority they give me for the time I'm there with them. And quite often, the person who asked me to conduct the workshop, Deacon Hart, usually the pastor, they too are really not the one in charge. See, I can come to your house, and because you filed head of household on your income tax return, that don't mean you in charge. Is it all right to preach in here? I need you to hear it now. Just because you're married and got a husband, that doesn't mean your husband is in charge. As it pertains to those workshops, in particular this one right around the corner, who is in charge is of great significance because the effectiveness, Lee Bernard, of the workshop or any type of gospel work is determined by who's in charge. The one who's in charge is not the person with the title, but the one who's got the real authority. Can I talk in here? Understand, Brother Cornelius, you might have the title, but the Negro that know how to fix the air conditioner, he got the authority. They got the last say. And as such, they determine whether the workshop is a success or not by their influence over the others. Some determine whether, by their words or their actions, whether the workshop will be beneficial to other folks. Now, with regard to that workshop right around the corner, I knew in the first 20 minutes of getting there that it wasn't going to be effective. Because nobody present could govern the behavior of one woman. Nobody present now could govern the behavior of one woman, the deacon's wife. She challenged me, not asking questions, challenged the authenticity of what was being taught. It's all right to ask questions, but she challenged me. Challenged the teaching over and over again. And over again, I showed her that what was being taught is Christian doctrine. And that particular day, this lady made my task as a visiting minister to her church. She made it tough. And sadly, there was no one there with enough authority. Not the pastor, not her husband, the deacon. Nobody there with enough authority to persuade her to relent and let me teach. You see, the meeting between Jesus and the centurion was all about power and authority. Just as, Mother Pruitt, when we come to worship, it too is about power and authority. Why? Because, Brother Cornelius, because, Lee Bernard, because, Sister Piano, when we come to worship, Dr. Thompson, our various stations in life come with us.
Yes, sir.
When you show up here, who you are in the community, come with you. Some of us are important people, either by title, by our address, living way out in the county, brick house, 2-story, over 3,000 square feet, by what we drive, long BMW, not short one, by what our image is in the community. We bring the importance of our personhood to church with us. And so did the centurion. The officer explained to Jesus, you ain't got to come to my house because I'm a big Negro like you. And I understand the nature of authority that you have, because I'm going to make this parallel to my own authority. I tell a Negro to come, he come. If I tell him to go, he go. If I tell him to do this, he do it. Now, in the parallel account, in Luke chapter 7, verses 2 through 10, it was implied that the centurion was also rich. In fact, he was rich enough to fund a church building. So this man was not only a man of influence, but also of financial substance. And yet the centurion, Sister Piano, recognized that in that particular context, where we ain't fighting no wars, all the money won't help me. Whether I'm Democrat or Republican won't help me. NAACP won't help me. In this context, I need spiritual authority. So the NAACP can't be in charge. The Alphas and the Deltas can't be in charge. The politicians cannot be in charge. The effectiveness of ministry is governed by who's in charge. And in this context, it ain't a politician that's needed. What are you saying, preacher? I'm saying right here, right now, today, some of what will be done this very day in Jesus' name will not be effective because Christ is not in charge in your life. You see, when you come to church, Dandelion, sometimes it's your social status. It's your social status, Brother Omar. It's your Facebook page that's still in charge. And you're worried about what your friends might think. Is it all right to preach in here? The reason that some of your relatives cannot be saved, the reason that Christ cannot reign in your life the way he reigns in the lives of other folks is because in this context, you won't let him be in charge. You understand, some of us, we have let our community status, our street credibility, keep Christ from being in charge. Can I talk in here? Sister Piano, I was over Mount Zion #1 years ago, and I know you were there with me because you might have been playing for the choir. I was at St. James, and a lady said later, y'all let him talk to y'all like that? If it was me, I would have gotten up and walked out. And that's why you're not married. That's why you got children and grandchildren. Some of them have been on Jefferson's cooling board. That's why your house is tore up. That's why there's no peace on your street. That's why when you lay down at night, you wonder what's wrong with you. Because you will not let the word of God have its way in your life. You don't have the power you need to heal your family. Can you hear me in here? You don't have the power you need. You go from whipping a child with a belt to pulling a knife to kind of carry a pistol around your own folk. You don't have the power you need to heal your family, let alone yourself. The centurion, a Roman officer no less, one who would have naturally looked down on the Jews. He recognized, if my servant is going to live, I need Jesus. Did you hear that? If your child is going to make it, if your grandchild going to make it, if your great-grand is going to make it, it depends on who is in charge. My sisters and my brothers, the centurion, he was stationed in and around Capernaum, not to praise Jesus, not to even protect Jews. He was stationed there to destroy them. If any kind of uprising or rebellion happened, they didn't keep soldiers back in Rome and then send an army out. They kept armies out in hot spots. They were stationed there not to protect them, but to destroy them if any uprising occurred. And in that case, the centurion would have been given orders against Jews. But he found that his military authority, his authority as a member of Omega Psi Phi, his authority as mayor of Vicksburg, he found out that his authority, Troy Kimball, as a police officer, is no good in the spiritual realm. Is it all right to preach in here? No matter how important you believe yourself to be, if there's anybody that you love who is not saved, you can't save them. You cannot save them. You send a Negro off to another city and he lived in that city unsaved, just like he lived here. The Word of God and the church has to be in charge. So when your middle class friends, Dr. Thompson, have an issue with authority, with discipline, with structure, with order in the King Solomon Baptist Church, be sure to tell them that the effectiveness of ministry is determined by who's in charge. Yes, sir. When they say, I don't want to come over there because that man blah, 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 you mean because you won't be in charge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because our ministry loses its effectiveness when people in the secular realm are placed in charge in the spiritual realm. Can I preach in here? I need you to hear it now. This brings me to my second point. Here it is. You ready? The sick have no say. See, this is terrible right here. Because I know Mother Kane Rowling saying, what about the patient's Bill of Rights? I'm telling you, in the church, when it come down to saving folk, the Negro that needs saving, he got no say. He got to surrender. That's the sole thing he's responsible for. What am I responsible for, preacher? Surrendering. Notice in this meeting, Mother Kane Rowling, this meeting of important men, that the one who's sick, leaving out the one who's robbing cars, the one who's making babies out of wedlock, the one who's stealing, he got no say. You should not ask children whether they want to go to church or not. Oh, you Negroes thrill me. You shouldn't ask. They're children they don't know. Parents are those in charge. You the one that make that decision. And in the same way, Sister Valita Smith, you shouldn't ask those in your life who are sinners what's best for the treatment of sin.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me in the back? Don't let the sinners at home tell you what we ought to be doing in church. Can I preach in here? Tell you what the church ought to be doing to get you in there. We're not trying to make the church like the world. Is it all right to preach in here? I need you to hear it now. I'm amazed at how many parents, friends, and loved ones of the sick are so easily manipulated by the sick.
Yes, sir.
I used to ask my sons and even my wife about certain things. Daniel Ryan, I would ask, knowing in my heart, it didn't matter what you said. We're going to do what God say do anyway. Did you hear that? See, a lot of times I ask just to hear what's on your mind. But we wasn't going to never do that. Why would I ask the one who ain't in authority about what God is holding me accountable for? In other words, Brother Todd, it was kind and courteous of me as her husband. It was kind and courteous of me as your father. Be acting like your friend. Kind and courteous to ask. But I was always going to do what the Lord say do. Because I ain't trying to make the sick happy. I'm trying to get them well. Can you hear me in here? It's not about you as a child being happy as the time. It's about you as a child being raised to be a whole and decent human being. And when you didn't smile because you didn't like something, what did I tell you to do? Smile. That's why he smiles so much now. Because when he didn't like something and they frowned, you were not going to leave my presence. The Negro that put clothes on your back, that put food in front of you, you ain't finna leave my presence talking about what I done without having a smile on your face. I don't care how old sick people are, Cheyenne. A Negro that's smoking THC ain't got nothing to say about what go on in the house of God. You're going to get high and then call me about your theology of the church. Well, preacher. The sick have no say in anything. Which is why, come funerals, weddings, we don't turn the pulpit over to nobody. Can I talk in here? Not your nephew, not your cousin, not your homeboy from Memphis. The sick got no say in the house of God. The only thing that the sick or sinners can do is confess that they are sick. That's the only say a sick person or a sinner got in church. And they can also tell you a little bit about how they got that way. But what they can't do is prescribe their own wellness plan. Sister Sandals, I love you. But you know after 20 years, there's certain stuff, I just let you talk. I ain't hearing that. You talk all you want to talk. You say what you want to say. I'm studying you like the bottom of my shoe. Because the sick have no say about anything. Can I preach in here? How it is, I'm going to go to the mechanic shop. He working on my car. And I'm telling him what wrench to use. I'm telling him what's wrong with it. And he got the computer right there in front of him. He done been to school for it. And I'm sitting here telling him he doing it wrong. And then I'm going to tell him what you charging me ain't right. My sisters and my brothers, there are some people who are hurting to this day. In this Vicksburg community, in the Jackson community, entering their second and third generation of hurt. Because their loved one who had authority, like the centurion, did not listen to the church, but rather they put the sick and hurting people, usually their children who are grown now, they put them in charge. Can I preach in here? We got a lady right now. Yesterday we quit fooling with her. Because you're going to let your children be in charge. And a lot of times, folk think they know. And they say, well, I love so-and-so,